What's up, everybody? It's Daniel again from Coëmeta Lifεcraft. This is the second conversation of a series that I'm having related to the ＫNotwork project, which again is about facilitating collaboration and coordination and mutual support among freelancers and independent workers, gig workers, solopreneurs, that sort of thing, with the idea to try to build networks of peer-to-peer support and interdependence to make us less dependent on large-scale institutions like corporations, government, the free market, etc. So more information about all of that in the description, but I'm publishing these initial, raw, very roughly edited, full conversations that I'm having as part of the research for this project in the spirit of working in public and contributing to information commons and so on, which is how we try to approach most things at Coëmeta, which again, you can find out more about in the description. So this conversation was with the Twitter mutual, Piyush Tainguriya, aka Mango Zeus on Twitter, who I've never talked to before this, other than in shitposts, and didn't even know what he was really up to, other than I thought I saw him mention freelance work at some point, and he seemed like the sort of absolute maniac that I want to talk to in these sessions. Also super smart and strange. But it turned out he had all sorts of freelance stuff going on. He recently started an agency in Mumbai, India, with his partner, pulling in a circle of friends and fellow freelancers that he had worked with before. So like 100% on theme for the sorts of topics I wanted to get into. So we talk about that and also a bunch of other stuff. Shit posting as lead gen, complex systems, project management, not compounding fake email job overhead, and how no one actually wants to do knowledge work. It's a good one. So again, if these things resonate with you, there's more to come. Follow the channel or the podcast. If you have any feedback, leave a comment or reach out. Info in the description. And let's get into it. All right. Talking to Piyush today, aka Certified Mad Lad, Mango Zeus on Twitter. Probably one of my more unhinged follows, I think, on Twitter. Amongst many unhinged schizos, but I don't know, one of the more, I guess, like inscrutably and beautifully unhinged accounts on Twitter. We haven't talked before. He's generous enough to jump on this call, and I drug my ass up at 5:30 in the morning for it. So if I'm extra incoherent, that's why. I'm joining from here in Philly. And so I don't know. First of all, am I saying your name right?
Yeah. Correct.
Cool.
And thank you for jumping on this call. Thank you for thinking of me straight out of forest. That was you.
Yeah. No, for sure. You were actually among the first cohort of people that occurred to me of just semi-acquainted internet weirdos that might be worth talking to. So stoked to do it, and stoked to just talk for the first time, real time, video, audio, AV experience. But can you start, just for my sake and for the sake of if anybody ever actually listens to or watches this?
Yeah.
Quick intro for yourself, however you want to be known, whatever you want to get into, background, what you currently do, anything that you feel might be relevant. Obviously, general theme of the convo might get into independent work, freelance work, collaborative coordination among independents, or just collective sense making, tools for thought, weird shit, but just general as a person showing up in a conversation, like, I guess, something like that.
Yeah, I'm Piyush Tainguriya. I am from this city in India called Indore. I live in Mumbai currently. I've been here for 10 years. I am a mechanical engineering dropout, currently working as a freelance writer. I write for films, web series, ad scripts. I run a digital project management agency work-wise. I do some stand-up on the side. It's been on the slow roll for the last 1 year, since last 1 or 2 years, I would say, since COVID pandemic, trying to get back into it. A lot of coordination is required for what I do, because I work with a network of freelancers. So things that I can't do, I need to take help in those things from other people. I also answer to various other people, like people who are running other agencies, people who have other projects for me. So I collaborate with them. I give them my projects. They give me my projects. Currently, I'm a part of a couple of organizations, business networking organizations, where I get referrals from. That is the primary business acquisition mode at the moment. Another one is just DMs. I DM people on Twitter, got some really good accounts from there. So yeah, that's me in short. That's how, I work. Anything more specific you'd like to know, I'd be happy to answer.
Awesome. Yeah, no, we'll definitely get into some shit. Okay. You got a lot more going on than I realized. I knew you as, like I said, sort of Twitter schizo. I think I initially followed you because you said some wild shit in a thread about Rome research. And Connor that like both like blew my mind and melted my brain at the same time. I was like, the fuck this guy on about? And
yeah,
then,
that was a wild time, yeah.
then proceeded through the jokes and stuff. And as far as the stand-up, highly recommend clicking on link in bio on Piyush's Twitter account. Not only will you learn how to make $5,000 a day with AI, but pretty good routine there as well. And it's got the classic fucking stand-up comic like hard rock distorted guitar intro to welcome Piyush, and then he just proceeds to kill it. So yeah, highly recommend. But yeah, okay, I didn't know you had all this shit. I thought I vaguely remember you mentioning freelancing at some point amongst the jokes and posts on Twitter. So that's cool. A lot of shit to get into then. I guess I'll give a little background too for context. I kind of LinkedIn post on Twitter a lot, so you might have a general sense of some of my shit. But yeah, so I was in sort of data and analytics and traditional 9 to 5 corporate work, regular job work for 10-ish years, 10, 12 years. And then when freelance at the beginning of 2022, the beginning of last year, basically just rage quit my job and had done a little bit of freelancing on the side by accident. People that reach out to me, former colleagues or like friends of friends, whatever, and sort of like planted the seed. Plus somebody I worked with at one point, she was like a marketer or something, had like quit the job. I was working at the newspaper in Philadelphia Inquirer. And she like quit and like fucked off and like moved to like Miami and was like working on the beach and like, but still freelancing part-time, like for her old team. I was like, wait a minute, you can fucking do that? Let's fucking go. Get the fuck out of here. Am I coming in the fucking office for it and dealing with this shit every day for it? So yeah, so went freelance 2022, started trying to cobble shit together, just reach out to my network, got a few referrals and a couple steady clients. And that's basically what I've been doing. Plus trying to do other weird shit on the side that I tried to do with Coemeta around sort of like work in public sense making and tool making, but was always interested in like freelance cooperatives in that context. And even from before that, I have a background in like anti-authoritarian, like anarchist collectives and like those sorts of worker cooperatives and that sort of organization and like collective action, collective collaboration. So that aspect of it was something that's always in the back of my mind. And I was, even from when I set out, I was looking at like certain freelancer cooperatives and shit that I thought would be like along those lines, and nothing's really panned out. So one of my pet projects now is trying to think about like what are some fundamental affordances for trying to facilitate that more peer-to-peer work sharing, collaboration, resource sharing among independent workers, freelancers, or could be broader than that, but that's like the general persona that I'm focused on.
Yeah.
And it could be like side hustle people, gig workers, shit like that. So yeah, I guess that's enough of the context for that combo. So I have a bunch of general questions, but I think it's cool to get a little bit more into all the shit you have going on. So you said you're freelance writing, and also you said running a digital project management agency. Is that what you said?
Digital project management agency. Basically, we provide end-to-end digital marketing solutions. Your social media marketing, your performance marketing, your search engine optimization. We take care of all of that. We try to do it with the minimum number of full-time employees. We only have 4 at the moment. Most of our work is accomplished through a network of freelancers.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fucking hella relevant. Can you talk about that? Like, how did that start? How did you get into that? Like, what does it look like? Like, yeah, I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I have been working in this area for about a decade now. When I came to Bombay, I was new. I met somebody who was a creative head in a major ad agency. So that's when I discovered copywriting, and I thought, I love reading, I love writing, so why not try this? I was at a loss for what to do, and I figured, I'm good at writing, why not do this? So I tried a little bit of that. I wrote some ads, as a freelancer for some ad agencies. Later on, I met one of the most awarded copywriters in India. I was at a difficult time in my life, and I was just cold calling major copywriters. And he invited me to his house, and he said, okay, I'm going to teach you how to get good at copywriting. He gave me a lot of work, and he taught me. Then he's dead now. I miss him every day. But that allowed me to get a major position as a content head for a sales company. I used to write sales letters for products. I wrote infomercials, etc., for TV. Then later on, I became a content head for a robotics company. So my mechanical engineering background came in handy, combined with copywriting knowledge. Then I worked for a fintech startup and an edtech startup. After which I decided to go my own way. I get my own clients, and I started working from home. During this journey, I met quite a few people who were also writers, graphic designers, performance marketers, search and optimizing experts. So I kept track of them. So me and my girlfriend, we run this agency together. So she also came in contact with quite a few of these professionals. And this has been a constant refrain throughout my career and her career, that nobody actually wants to go to an office. People want to live in Goa, have a beer at the beach, and work from there.
Classic Apple product manager vibe.
Yeah, exactly. So that allows us to to have this shared dream and have this shared work ethic, that we can all provide each other with this kind of work, with this kind of freedom. So yeah, so all these people that we met, some of them became quite close, colleagues, and we started sharing work with them. So yeah, that's the story of our agency. It's a pretty new agency. It's been less than a year since we registered it, but the response that we got from these people, the help we've had, even without full-time staff, it's been amazing, and I'm really optimistic about it.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, honestly, I thought we were going to be shit posting most of this conversation. I'm like, I got to recalibrate my expectations here. We're like, this is actually real and substantive. Fuck. All right. Yeah, that's cool. Congratulations on all that too. And good luck with that shit. So first of all, I guess, did the Twitter presence that I know, is this like some like deranged alt, or is that the one Piyush? Because like outside of the business, like I didn't get no sense of most of this shit going on from the Twitter presence.
Yeah, I try to keep that, keep all that separate. Yeah, that's my outlet for being unhinged, because that's what I'd like to be all the time. That's one more that's one more reason to go full freelance, so that I can be that everywhere.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel that.
My ideal self.
But how like isolated is it? Because I mean, you're not like in a so you got your real face, real name on the account, and you got the stand-up gig video that you posted. That's like, that's pretty fucking unhinged. And it doesn't seem like you're hiding that. So how professional, like how separate do you got to like compartmentalize the professional life from the unhinged Twitter comedian schizo life?
Where most of my clients know that side of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also went viral a few times. So, locally in Mumbai, people know a fair bit. Like this is a city of comedians and actors and, directors and cinematographers. So people are quite comfortable with it. So they don't, it's not awkward for them to be working with, they don't think I'm crazy, because the city is full of these people.
Okay, yeah.
It actually kind of adds a little bit of, a certain creative cred. If you're, let's say, pitching for a creative project, it actually helps a little bit.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, I think I tweeted at one point, for some reason, part of my mental model of like going independent and being like self-employed or just business owner, like founder, was like I have to like say unhinged shit on Twitter. That just seemed like it was part of the resume for doing that. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess fucking here we go. Say fucking wild shit. And then at some point I'm like, yeah, most of my clients follow me on here. I'm still kind of just randomly sometimes saying wild shit on Twitter. And I'm like, well, go with it. Yeah. See what happens. But yeah, I'm not great at compartmentalization in general. So yeah, the freelance and that was another part of it. I've generally been able to, like, I don't know, have a solid enough reputation at the jobs where it's like, all right, there's fucking weirdo Daniel, like over there, he's doing this thing, but he's killing it. So we're just gonna leave him alone. Just gonna let him cook. But yeah, for the freelance, so much is so good about this shit being independent. And yeah, maybe we'll get into that more. But I guess I want to hear a little bit more about just like, how'd you go about starting the agency? So you said this was like other sort of peers or freelancers, people you already worked with or knew. Did you just like put a call out, reach out to people? Like, did it like, how did it originate? Like for me, I started bringing people into some of my work, subcontracting out some stuff, which is like a little sort of initial push in the direction that I'm trying to build out more formally, with this kind of shared work model and coordination among freelance folks.
Yeah.
And that was just because I had like more client work than I could handle myself. And I always wanted to be able to do that at some point. And I'm just having a team. Like I like working in a team environment. I hate working for organizations because they're almost universally dysfunctional and just fucked in like tons of ways. But I love working with teams, and I always had good teams and help build teams. And I immediately missed that aspect of like traditional work. So yeah, how'd that progression come about?
I personally have never been very good at teamwork. So, going independent was kind of a relief. I mean, at the robotics company, I was given the opportunity to sit in the corporate office, and there was an engineering office. And in the engineering office, there was one isolated room close to the toilet. But since it was isolated from everybody, I chose that one. So I always preferred working alone. So it was not much of a shift. Actually, it was somewhat of a relief to be able to work alone. But when I do have to coordinate, honestly, I kind of outsource the coordination work to my partner. So I personally take care of the writing, some creative work, some supervision work. But other than that, client facing work and handling people who are working for us, I leave that to my partner. So yeah, so avoidance, that's been my strategy.
Okay, I feel you. I mean, yeah, I might be overselling the degree to which like I'm a good teammate and team player. I do like working in teams, just being able to collaborate and specialize to some degree and like basically be able to tag team work. And I have to always do everything myself. But I also have like a pretty stubborn independent streak. And when I'm actually working, I can't be around other people. Like when I would be in the office, I come in for meetings, I immediately go to the cafe down the street, or I immediately go work from a restaurant or something, because I just like can't focus with a bunch of other motherfuckers around me talking or wanting to tell me about their weekend or whatever. So I kind of had that reputation too. But yeah, time and place. But I definitely I would have taken the office by the bathroom as well. I think we actually joked about putting my cubicle in the bathroom at some point, because I was always out of the fucking office. But so when you decided though to put this thing together and how, I guess I don't know what business formation is like in India or in Mumbai, but like how formal is that process? How did you go about that side of it, forming the actual business structure, but then also the initial set of freelancers that you're working with? How did those connections come about?
So in the last 3 jobs, so I worked with these three: the robotics company, the fintech company, and ed tech company. So I met quite a few people there, and my girlfriend was working for a SaaS company. So she got the SEO guy from there. I got some of the writers from there. I met a really good graphic designer at the robotics company. So all of these people, I knew that they are good. I can pitch a project with these people to anybody, and the project will be good. As far as setting up a business was concerned, so for a while, I just went without any coordination. Just whatever was coming my way, I would do it. There was no plan to speak of. During the pandemic, we realized that, okay, so we really need a plan. We need to get our shit together. We need to register the company. If we are going to get any big clients, we'll have to show some kind of a legal status as a company. It went well as long as we were working with smaller clients, smaller projects. But when we felt the need to get serious about it, we had to register our company. Then, apart from putting together the team, I joined a couple of business networking organizations. So basically, I have to go there every week and pitch my business. I pass referrals to them, they pass referrals to me. One is an organization of mainly service sector professionals. Another is an organization of manufacturers, mainly. Like it's not all that clearly separated, but yeah. So one is manufacturer heavy and another is service sector heavy. So I go to those meetings and I pitch my business. So that gave us a kind of direction for example, we were getting leads, but we were having trouble following up with all the leads that we were getting. So we figured out, okay, so we need to tighten up this part of. None of us are very interested in following up with people. We have just enough business, and it's a lot of trouble calling people and figuring out their requirements. That itself is a 3 to 4 day long period, long day process. So we figured out, okay, so this is what we need to do. Maybe we get somebody to take care of that exclusively. Maybe that person can be full time. So currently we are in the process of figuring out that part of the business. So when we go out, we figure out, okay, this is our weakness. We are not doing great in these areas, and we try and find a solution to that. Is that making sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, so I guess in India, do you do the same kind of distinction we have in the States of full-time employment, or we call it a W-2, which is a tax form you have to file if you're full-time officially employed versus a contractor, independent contractor, we call it 1099, which
Yeah,
is the other one. Do you have like a similar distinction?
Yeah, we have that. So, I mean, they're called different things, but yeah, there's a full employment and there is an outside consultant. So both of them get different tax forms. One is a Form 16 and another, I'm not sure. I'll have to ask my accountant. But yeah, so the two different tax situations. Yeah.
So like when you do, for the example of processing intake or onboarding clients or whatever, you could potentially have somebody part-time or one of the freelancers even in your network potentially, or in the agency, I guess, work part-time on that, or you can bring somebody in full-time. That's like a decision you had to work through for that sort of situations. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we do plan to expand a little bit this year. So, people who have been working for us part time or as freelancers, I mean, of course, the full time people will come from that pool. We already know them, they have already worked for us. We love their work. So, the first batch of, full time people will come from that. But we still do feel like work from home is a much better option for us at the moment. Even if they do become full-time employees, we would much prefer for them to work from home. They can travel, they can do whatever they want. No need for unnecessary, micromanagement on our part. And not that I'm very good at it. I won't be able to micromanage anybody, even if I wanted to.
Right. So so you'll be most likely fully remote, or you have been fully remote. Is everybody that you're working with also in Mumbai, or are they like distributed more geographically?
So yeah, quite a few of our people are from Mumbai, but we do have a couple of people from Delhi also. So the distribution has been, mostly metro city based. We have somebody that works for us once in a while from Bangalore also. So Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad. That's usually, geographically where the people come from. These are the most talent heavy cities. Like in terms of knowledge work, this is where you find people. And that's where people go. Like a lot of those people were in Mumbai and then they left for Bangalore or Delhi. Some people are from Delhi and then they came to Mumbai. So like in the US, you have New York, LA, Chicago, these places.
Philly, Philadelphia.
So yeah. Yeah.
No, nobody goes to Philly. Nobody goes to Philadelphia. Or you just get stuck here somehow. Yeah, actually, one of my bigger former clients had a big offshore team out of Hyderabad. I forget what the agency was called, but they were a new agency too. They were just going to start it.
Yeah.
And the clients, so same thing for the clients, basically, especially if they're coming from that pool, like the business network that you're meeting with, like in person. They're mostly in the big cities too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, part of the first main set of questions I usually have on the main theme that I'm trying to talk to people about is like gauging interest in or demand for or experience with these kind of mechanisms or affordances for coordination among freelancers and shit like that. But you're like actually already doing it and like build a thing. Like, so that kind of answers itself. And I guess just to reinforce that, the motivation there, where it came from, like y'all were freelancing yourselves, and was the initial trigger more that like, okay, we got more client work that we could handle, so we need to kind of build a team or a network around it? Or was that like a vision and a sort of intent from the beginning of when you went freelance and independent?
So our aim was to get more client work. Actually, we were short on client work because we were not very, coordinated ourselves. So we needed more work. And to create a more professional front, we needed to make some changes. In India, you still have to present a certain image, if you're looking for better, higher paying work. So the impetus for us was this, that we want more work. So we need more people so that we can handle higher volume and a higher caliber of work. So that's when we figured out, okay, so we know these people. So right now we are working with 4 people. Okay, we get projects from them. Now let us see. I know 8 people, you know 6 people. Let's see who is ready to work with us. And then we together pitched some projects. We got those projects. It went well. Then I joined these 2 organizations. Again, I started getting more work. So now we are in a place where we have more work than we can follow up. So now we are looking at expanding it even more. So now we are going out of once we exhaust our pool of trusted freelancer friends. So the initial impetus was that, okay, we are already friends. You're good at what you do. So friendship took us to this point. But now we will have to figure out, okay, so we need more people we don't know. So how do we get those people? Do they prefer a full-time kind of full-time on-site type of work? Do they prefer part-time freelance work? What are we willing to give them? What is the minimum they need from us? So all of that we'll have to figure out, and that's going to be our next challenge.
So the freelancers you're currently working with, the people that work with the agency, are they also the 100% of their work coming through the agency, or do they also have their own things on the side? Do they have full availability, or do you got to manage like who's available for what job at what time? You kind of pitch it all as like a package, or how's that work?
So at the moment, yeah, they are taking on other work. They are not fully dependent on us. So we also have to make sure that we are not fully dependent on them. So today itself, we got an inquiry about creating an investment deck for a bank. So the preferred freelancer is not free at the moment. So we have a couple of options that we can tap for this. So we are good for this right now. So yeah, so that's how it happens. We float it to different people who are able to do this, and we see who can get it done. We have to make sure that they are good enough to do it. But yeah, that's basically the model.
And what does that mechanism look like? Like, is there any kind of formal process or framework, or you just kind of like slacking somebody, messaging somebody, putting it out there? Do you have like a shared messaging platform, Slack or Discord or something with the whole group? You're blasting out emails, or what's that process look like?
Not at the moment. We don't have any formal systems, but yeah, we basically text people. But we have thought of formalizing this, like creating texting groups between us and various professionals. But if you have something in mind, if you're developing something, I'd love to try it out.
Cool. Yeah, no, I have nothing yet. This is all still like research, and honestly, like I most likely don't want to get in the business of like developing a platform, like a thing that's like a monolithic thing that you fucking sign up for, or SaaS or whatever. Yeah. I'm more leaning towards what are the sort of practices or the protocol sort of thing. And like here might be a reference implementation of it, but it needs to have these features, it needs to have these affordances and work this sort of way, these capabilities, and go about it that way. But yeah, I'm far from developing anything. I'm out here like kicking the tires on a lot of existing platforms and researching what's already out there. But yeah, mostly I'm just trying to get a feel for it. First of all, do people even want to use this? Because a lot of freelancers I know and a lot of independent people, at least folks I've been talking to in different communities, like I've been poking around the Yak Collective, which is Venkatesh Rao's experiment, and an indie collective, independent consultant collective. And most of them, especially the consultant side of things, is very solitary and independent sort of work. And there's not a lot of collaboration. Normally, there's not a lot of demand for it. And when people have tried to do it, there's like so much friction and overhead and the coordination costs of just like who's project managing this thing, who's dividing up the different pieces of work, who's overseeing that, and then how are we writing the contracts and doing payment processing and all of that shit. And then people basically like try it once or twice and they're like, fuck this. I'm just go like do my own thing. But when it's more what I consider like IC type of work, like like individual contributor type of work. Like you're actually doing something concrete, not just idea work, like executives or whatever. Then it makes it, I feel like it's a little bit more sense. There's more natural divisions of labor and ways to go about like cross-functional teamwork.
Yeah.
And there's more demand for it because like I'm not a designer. I don't want to fucking be designing things. I'm not really a proper developer or programmer. And when I need that, I need to bring in somebody who like is. So yeah, a lot of the people I'm talking to, it's still unclear. It's like people have tried like to do some collaborative like freelance work and mostly have been like, maybe not, like maybe it's too much trouble, or like, fuck this, like I'm a fucking digital nomad and I want to be in my personal fucking co-working booth in Bali or whatever the fuck and not do this. So I'm still not entirely sold that there's like a market there for it. I think there is, but I don't think there's universal demand necessarily. Were you going to say something? Sorry.
No, I was just saying that the network is small enough that texting works for us at the moment. We just text somebody or call somebody. But yeah, what if the network is pretty big? So I am part of another collective. I think it's called Treba. Do you know Treba? So it's a collective of copywriters, marketing consultants, etc. Marketing professionals of all kinds. So, but I hate opening Discord. I just cannot. It's been months since I opened it. So it's pretty useless. I know people that would be useful for me there, but I just hate opening it.
Yeah, facts. No, I fucking agree. It's awful. Yeah, the Yak Collective is on Discord. Most of them kind of like also openly loathe it, but it's like, again, there's like not really a better option. And it's got certain features and affordances. You can make bots and shit, especially if you're engineers and like engineer brain, you just get like nerd sniped into doing weird shit, customizing and building bots and shit. But it's universally like a fucking awful experience and bad time in my experience too. I fucking hate that shit. But I feel the same way about opening Twitter and shit most of the time too. Like I want to be out playing with trees and shit most of the time. I don't want to deal with this shit. But yeah, and that's why also a lot of the platforms I'm looking at and doing like research, seeing what's out there, they're just so over-engineered, especially the Web3 shit, because it's like just like classic blockchains. It's like Rube Goldberg machine of 99% scams and 1% something you might actually want to do. But I'm just like, I don't even want to learn all this shit. I don't want to fucking have tokens and stake them. Like I just want to fucking talk to my friends and do work together. Like the fuck are we talking about? So trying to simplify, strip it down to what are the actual features and mechanisms, and even not a specific instantiation of that. Just like, what does it need to be and what are some potential reference implementations? Like, could you do it in like a super stripped down Discord or a simple Telegram group or something off the shelf or something completely bespoke? It just needs to have these elements or whatever. And then you can experiment with like different mediums for executing that. So I don't know. We'll see. That's the direction I'm thinking, because also, most SaaSes, most software, most things that I see in the glowing rectangles of my computer screen, the cell phone screen, I just like actively loathe and want to like deal with as little as possible. So that's part of it too, as well as the fact that most of this is like digital freelancer and knowledge work. But I'm also interested in applications beyond that, and most immediately, and in my real life social network and friend network, I have a lot of people doing offline work, meat space work, whether carpentry and woodworking or food, bakers, shit like that. And they're not gonna do some weird fucking be on Discord and going on fucking Uniswap and like getting fucking whatever tokens and like fuck out of here. Like, they're in a garage fucking sawing boards and shit. Doesn't make sense. So yeah, that's another thing, kind of being like low tech or appropriate technology sort of approach of just minimum viable tech. Like, how fucking caveman can we make this? Both because it's more robust and simpler and less technical debt and overhead, and because people just won't interact with the other shit. And if you strip it down to, like, again, not to get too Elon, but like first principle shit, fundamentals, then you could implement a lot of different ways and experiment with different ways. And it's less about some piece of software or shitty website or SaaS provider, and more about the process and the practices and iterating that way. And then you can swap in and out components for executing the different capabilities it needs to have. So
yeah,
that's the way I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Plus, I'm also thinking in terms of, so it's hard to know the scope of a project when an inquiry comes in. So somebody will say, just, okay, make an investment deck. Now you don't know how many slides, what kind of data they need. Do I have to source data? Will they give me data? I don't know. So that I only have this much information. Now I will give them another call. They will give me more information. Then more information will accumulate. By then, I need somebody working on this, like somebody who has given me an affirmative response that, okay, I want to take this project on. But I don't have much information to give them. So there's always limited information, and it kind of drips in. And then I will give them this information, and that would be imperfect information. So then I'll go back to them. Then they'll ask for more information. Okay, I need, what kind of mood are they going for, etc., etc. So then I go back. So there is a lot of back and forth that wastes a lot of time and gives you bad information. So, since you're thinking in that direction, maybe keep in mind this problem also, because I would love a solution for this. Because you have to give a response to a prospective client based on limited information. Sometimes the clients themselves don't know what they really want, and you have to figure out the people and the resources for that project. So yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about this, I would love to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, yeah, in some way that's like classic stakeholder management, like requirements finding and project management type shit. Like, I definitely encountered that, but I encountered that in the traditional jobs too. It's like you get a request from some stakeholder, some other department or whatever. It's unclear. It's not really what they want. It's not really what they mean. They don't really know what they're asking for or how to ask for it. And you kind of have to go through this intake and grooming and requirements finding process and iteration. So there's definitely frameworks, like methodologies out there for those sorts of things. It does get more complicated when it's not like a set team already, that who's gets what part of the work and who can do what part of the job, or just what your capabilities even are, or capacity even is at any given point. But now I hear you that, like, affordances for that. Like, honestly, when I was trying to spitball this with the Yak Collective a bit, they want to put everything into a fucking 2x2. So so we ended up like workshopping this 2x2, and the axes were basically, what's the problem statement that I'm trying to focus on. And it's basically around friction or bottlenecks to more collaborative, independent, like indie work, freelance work. So the two axes were, the questions like, what's stopping people from doing it more, or at least what's the hypothesis? And one of them was basically just access to collaborators and partners that could do it, or would be willing to do it, or that are available. So basically like awareness and availability and access to a team or a network of people. And it sounds like that you've like mostly sort of got sorted out, like we talked about. And the other one was just like the coordination costs and the things that we're talking about. So lack of ready-made frameworks for just initiating an engagement. Like, are we writing contracts from scratch every fucking time? None of us have a legal department or inside counsel or anything like that. So we're on fucking legal Zoom or whatever, like plagiarizing contracts and just, find and replace words for each one, tie one together. It's like ad hoc every time. You got to do it with the client, and you got to do it with the other contractors if you don't have a standing agreement or something. So like both that, like the contractual, just like formality side of engagements, as well as the actual like execution of the work itself, the workflow management, the task management, project management aspects of it, dividing the work up, overseeing it, and then actual coordinating and communicating to get the work done in this distributed ad hoc team that's like maybe familiar with each other, but not always doing this sort of work in this sort of configuration together. So it sounds like that is one of the pain points that you're talking about, is that sort of that coordination cost side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I got a bunch of ideas and thoughts on that, but let's hold on that for a second. And let me just bounce some other questions or thoughts about, like, if there was a platform or a set of protocols or practices to help enable this sort of thing, what some of the other features or affordances might be. So the sort of short list that I'm working with now is, like we already sort of talked about, some sort of quick contract or subcontract generation or template or pre-agreements that you can kind of pre-agree to and fill in the blanks, so you get over that first hurdle. I guess just to check with you real quick, like, does that describe the way you're currently approaching things? Like, when you have a new project and you're pitching it out, is that a whole new fresh set of contracts with the other freelancers and collaborators, or do you have a sort of existing standing agreement, sort of agency model, and like, this is their rate, and you're just saying, we're going to bring you in at your standing rate for this amount of time or something? Like, how is that working for you?
So as of now, contracts have not been a big part of our agency, because I mean, these are the people we know.
Yeah.
So they don't really
informal.
We informal, word of mouth basis is what goes here. But contracts are necessary when we are onboarding new employees. But boilerplate contracts are available for those. So that has not been a major problem at the moment. But I can see it becoming a necessity in the future.
Yeah, if you're expanding beyond the sort of network of friends and people you have established trust with.
Yeah.
Right. And then another one, this one's a little bit more out there, but get your thought on it. Again, this is more in the model of like a collective or cooperative sort of structure, where the idea is something like some degree of a shared revenue pool, or some kind of treasury, like a Web3 organization like DAOs or something. Think of it where there is some, and for you, it might just be like the agency's bank account, like the agency's operating capital or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's a more sort of peer-to-peer, cooperative, collective organization situation, people either paying in or like some share of like contract that the group works on goes into the common pot, and then you have this sort of treasury of things to do what you want with. And it could be anything from reinvesting that in the group, or in new capabilities, or in generating new clients, or even just something to smooth out, the lumpiness of contract work. And think that, is that resonate with you at all? What are your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. I would love to have something. I mean, that would even bring people together, having a common pot where, I think it might even be used for like personal use. Sometimes you're, paying part of your rent or whatever. So if that pot helps people, take care of their personal expenses, sometimes I would love to have something like that. I'm not sure how to execute it, but I'm really interested in that idea.
Nice. Yeah. And that's definitely the direction I'm thinking with it too. Obviously, any group could implement it differently, have their own rules and uses for it. And obviously, it gets into a whole nother level of the amount of trust you have in people and the amount of interconnections and entanglements that you're going to have with this group when you start sharing money. Like, that's when shit gets really real. Like, sharing works one level, and like that is a bit beyond just like shit posting together on Twitter or whatever. But sharing money is like, that's another level of intimacy and little entanglement.
I'm not sure how it would work. Like once you have trust, would you share money? Or once you start sharing money, you would have trust?
Yeah, there's definitely some like chicken and the egg situation. And, like the blockchain people are all about trying to enable this trustless coordination and stuff. So it's all smart contract and fucking whatever. And that's, yeah, I don't know. Well, that's probably why Web3 is where it is. One of the reasons at the moment. But yeah, but I think it's like both. There has to be some baseline level, but then it will increase trust. And, sometimes shit's going to go sideways and it's like, gonna blow up and be bad. But like that's kind of life, and that's how like relationships work in general. But cool, yeah, that's interesting and good to know that like that's something on the radar too. But let me move on to kind of like a bit of a spin off of that as well, is beyond just a shared kind of pot of money, like a treasury or something. One of the other features or capabilities I'm thinking about is some sort of more frictionless ways to crowdfund essentially, or fundraise, or raise bounties for something, or even kind of microtransaction like tipping, like just like either generating money in an ad hoc way or generating like piles of resources and funding for an ad hoc purpose. Like, okay, we want to launch this marketing thing or build this other thing out. Whoever's interested in it, ante up here, throw some money into the pot, or we want to show appreciation or compensate somebody for uncompensated work or labor on something else, chip into that pot. Again, in a way that's like frictionless, and you're not having to sign up for GoFundMe or whatever and like deal with some intermediary. And all the shit gets probably super complicated as well in terms of like taxes and that side of thing. The more formal it becomes and the more like legible it becomes anyway, if it's more than people just Venmoing each other. So that's another complication I would deal with at some point. But at this point, I'm thinking about it more like people just throwing some money into the hat, or you're passing around a basket at church or whatever. So yeah, what do you think about that kind of thing?
No, absolutely. I would. I mean, that definitely sounds interesting and complicated, like you said. But what can be, so on a small enough level, we can just coordinate through text, phone calls, or just meet someone and get it done. How to get it done on a large enough scale? That's the problem here.
Yeah,
and
not just
at the moment, I don't really know how that, but these collectives, I mean, the point is that they are small. We don't necessarily have to think at scale here. So if we can figure out how it works on a small enough level, that works. I mean, if it's more than 150 people, it's not a collective anymore. It's something else. It's probably a company.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's definitely the way I'm thinking too, is small scale first.
Yeah.
Trusted circles and kind of expand from that. And there's a lot of, people thinking in that direction too, like the micro solidarity sort of thing, or these sort of like nested levels of organization. And you got your Dunbar levels of like 5, 15, 150. That you can kind of, that's actually another one of the features or affordances that I'm thinking about, is how can it not just be one open, flat expanse of a network of whoever's in the same, on the same structure, but how can there be these like nested levels of group sizes of different levels of scale and different amount of commitment and familiarity and intimacy. So I know there's been a bunch of sort of implementations of this sort of thing in different platforms as well. And like even Twitter now is having their like circles or communities or whatever they call it, where you can kind of define these things. And some of the more Web3 projects are trying to do that sort of fractal group size, nested sort of thing. So yeah, I'm definitely thinking that, and definitely thinking that at first I want this to work with 5 people who know each other and trust each other and can smooth over a lot of the clunkiness and the technicalities and the shit that's just like going to go wrong or be weird and wonky. But you have some baseline level of mutual trust and relationship built up there to work through that and now work out the kinks and see how much you can expand it. But I'm definitely thinking more among like small circles of people with familiarity more than like, again, just some big broad network to scale to hundreds or thousands of users or whatever.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would say a great way to think about that is like you already said, you thought in terms of like, okay, let's see how 5 people can coordinate smoothly. Okay, so those 5 people should go out and like pitch projects, work on projects, see how successful that is. Like test that five individual system in a real life situation or 2 real life situations. Okay, so that works. Now we say, okay, we want to expand this to 10 people. Does it work the same way? But yeah, I think that real life testing would be most important. Because I mean, we don't have the luxury of thinking in terms of thinking like a social media company, because we can't think in vacuum. We have to make things work. That's all the money we have and time we have. So it better work. So 5 people, 10 people, real life projects, see what works, and then expand.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about it too. And again, I'm like really only interested in things I can try and put into practice and do now, and not building up some big platform convoluted thing in isolation and then trying to attract users. Because and that's what it seems like a lot of the platforms that I've been investigating so far are doing. And I'm like, no, like I like, first of all, it doesn't look like it's going to work.
Yeah.
I don't even understand how it works. A lot of times it doesn't even seem like it actually does anything. It's just like a fucking landing page with all the general normal marketing and demo SaaS bullshit, or Web3 scam stuff, or it's just super alpha and it's like some big vision and mission statement, but it's just like, all right, just do the most minimal thing that will work and prove it out that way. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for and thinking about, and then these sort of modular ways. So like there's a component or an affordance or a set of practices with some kind of reference implementation or multiple implementations that do this part and then this part, and then think about interoperability and maybe stitching things together. But yeah, and definitely at the Scout thing is big too, because like a couple of things on it. Like for one thing, like you mentioned, when it's like 5 people who you know and trust, you can get away with the informalities and just we'll just text each other and we'll figure out the money later. We don't need a contract up front or whatever. But there's a couple things where I feel like that runs into friction. It's like obviously if you're trying to and broaden the scale, but also just trying to repeatedly do that, even at the same scale, just replicating it, it just becomes clunky. You know what I mean? It's like I wish we just had like a way we did this that was more set and forget, or a template that we take off the shelf and just, okay, we're doing this thing, we'll do it again. And we're reinventing the wheel each time. We're just figuring it out, muddling along as we go, and then that becomes a basis to kind of be able to expand. But the other side of that is one thing I heard about. I'm really interested also in this aspect of alternate monetary systems like community currencies, local currencies, things like that, specifically around time banks and mutual credit implementations, which have a long history behind them. But I guess one of the findings in that world is that people will sign up for these like local sort of collective sort of things you're talking about, even at a small scale within a community, within a neighborhood. And they'll start using the platform and using the formal mechanisms of it, and, formally logging the work and getting the time credits or whatever and sharing that at first. But then as they build like more trust, more relationships, then they just like recede into the more informal, like non-quid pro quo, less transactional version of it. And then people stop using the system. So it's like they're kind of self-defeating in a way, and it's going the opposite direction of larger scale and breaking into more smaller scale, tighter knit groupings of folks. So that's in the back of my mind too, where I'm like, yeah, are we building this thing that's just going to like dissolve and disintegrate itself because we like generate enough trust and familiarity and intimacy with each other that it's no longer needed? And in which case, that's where I'm trying to start from anyway. So it's like,
yeah.
again, that's another where I'm trying to just viability test the idea of like, is this actually a thing that like we need to do? But I feel the need for it because of the friction like we've been talking about. But yeah, that's definitely in the back of my mind.
Yeah. I think a lot of this happens because most people don't really want to do knowledge work. That we have to recognize this. Like, knowledge work has the largest percentage of bullshit jobs. People are trying to get out of it. They don't need to. I mean, if you give them a convoluted system of collaborating in terms of bullshit jobs, it's like it puts them deeper in the bullshit job economy. So people are trying to get out of it. They're thinking, okay, I need to work in this industry for 5 years. I make enough money, and then I live in Goa forever. That's the kind of thinking that's going on. So they may not necessarily want such a system.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like, are we just increasing the bullshit emails or the bullshit email job overhead?
Yeah.
So like how to do it in a way that either doesn't do that or actually mitigates it or streamlines it and gets people off of the fucking computer. Because again, like my application, the way I'm thinking about this is for including people who are not fake email job people, like doing actual real work in the world, and their tolerance for like the tech overhead is going to be super low. And part of my thought is, along with that, is to sort of enable part of this, the whole freelance independent thing, and the attraction of it to me is to sort of unbundle my livelihood from this one monolithic thing that I work with one organization doing one thing for, and being able to piece together a more varied portfolio of work and activities and do other things besides the bullshit email job. So I'm hoping that also enables people, like if we can stabilize that enough and make it have some level of greater ease of coordination and access to collaborators and the work itself, because once you have those networks and work can come in from multiple other directions in the network, and then you get pulled into that rather than you always having to generate your own clients and whatever. So I'm hoping like that starts to circulate in those things, just like stabilize and streamline that side of work to free you up to do, like, you get the fuck offline and touch grass and shit. Yeah. So that's definitely part of my thinking too. But you sent this this link. I'm not sure what part of the conversation that was in reference to.
Yeah. So it just reminded me of the things you were talking about. So I follow this guy's writing a lot. So he's a complexity scientist, this Sean McClure guy. I've never talked to him, but I follow him. I read everything he writes. So he's from the Nassim Nicholas Taleb School of Complexity.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. It's a pretty long one. I'm not sure I can summarize it at the moment. But he basically he talks about how to apply complexity science in project management.
Yeah, all good. The reference is good, and I definitely want to check that out. But that was in reference to just like the coordination and project management side of what we're talking about.
Yeah. I think that would have some application in managing collaborative projects, figuring out the outline.
Cool. Yeah.
And then filling in the blanks. That's what would come in handy there. Give it a read again, and I'll share my thoughts with you in chat. But it would be amazing if you could read it and share your thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely will. It looks cool, and I haven't heard of that dude, so I'll check him out. It kind of reminds me of one of the other like Twitter weirdos who also kind of like beautifully deranged in a different way that I want to talk to soon. I've talked to in the past briefly. You might be aware of too, because he's kind of in the like, he was in the sort of Rome cult tools for thought space. Khalil Carrazzo.
Yeah.
Which he's a wild fucking dude. Tons of shit going on. But yeah, he wrote like a Rome book and like ebooks, but he has like a Rome version of it on different aspects of project management. So he probably has thoughts on that, and he's informed by the complex systems perspective of things as well as a bunch of other shit. that just reminded me of him too. Like an entrepreneur, he's independent, like consultant freelancer, and tons of other shit. Wild fucking dude.
I did a call with
Cool.
him.
I know we're. Oh, you did?
Yeah. I was trying to write a book about tools of thought, and he was already writing his book. So I wanted to get his thoughts on how to write, how to go about it. And yeah, I did end up writing a book. Like, it's not a professionally written book or anything, but I put one out on what's the platform?
Gumroad.
Gumroad, yeah.
Yeah.
So I put out a piece on Gumroad, and I run a different account for tools for thought. So I put it out there, and it has like 5 downloads at the moment. That's all.
That's what's up. Well, yeah, send me that, or send a link to that too. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. Also, didn't know you had that other alt. Let me know about that too.
Been inactive for a while. I have been doing a lot of research on these network note taking tools. I really like just playing around with them. So I have these phases where I go all in on certain tools. I do a lot of research, and then a few months of nothing. I just don't even look at them. So in the last few months, I haven't looked at any new tools of thoughts or my tools for thought account. But I think this month I'll get back to it. I recently got my access to AnyType. Have you seen the AnyType app?
Nah, I haven't heard of that.
I just got it yesterday, so I'm gonna look into it. Get to figure out how to run AnyType. And I'm also pitching to network note taking apps, the services of my agency. So that's one direction that the agency can go. So so that account helps me with all of that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Share that. I didn't realize that at all. That's what's up. And I knew, well, like I said, because our initial connection on Twitter was over like Rome stuff. So I knew you were into that. And that was a whole nother aspect of the conversation I thought we might get into. But got way more we can get into. I know we're already super over time, but tons more I'd like to talk about. Maybe we can do a round 2 in a couple weeks or something. Pick it back up. See where we're at. What came up in the meantime. I'll be continuing to have conversations and perspectives and maybe other artifacts published and shit that we could check back in and touch base on. But the whole tools for thought side of it, especially the multiplayer mode of it, could potentially play directly into some of this shit, with the exception that like there is no fucking way my woodworker friend is like using Rome. You know what I mean? Like it's not fucking happening. Yeah. But there's something there. And even the couple of digital freelancer knowledge work folks that I work with, some of them do use Rome. And I've thought about kind of using that as a basis for our own coordination and stuff. But I just set shit up in Notion just to be normie friendly and like middle of the road, especially for like if I got to bring clients into it. But all my personal shit I still do in Rome. And I've kicked the tires on some of the other shit. I got access to Tana. Did you do Tana yet, or Tana? I don't know how you say that.
Yeah, Tana. Yeah. I have been using it. I've been testing it. I'm in the testing group. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I love the new features and all. It feels very high tech, but I kind of I'm stuck on LogSec.
Yeah.
Have you used? Yeah. So it's basically Rome with a little bit of one feature here and there, but I really like using LogSec. It has stuck over time.
Yeah, I've only used it a little bit, but it looks like pretty much open source Rome with local file storage if you want it, but it's very similar interface, like network, node sort of outliner structure, right? Yeah. Okay, word. Let's not go down that rabbit hole now, though. Let's put a bookmark on that one, but I'm stoked to get into that as well. Even in this context, I think it makes a lot of sense, like I said. But we're about an hour and a half. So I don't want to take up any more of your time, but this has been great. It's a great conversation. Stoked to do it. And looking forward to keep the conversation going. I'll definitely check out that link that you shared and get back to you on that. And see you on Twitter, Schizo Posting. And follow back up in a bit. Yeah, thanks again, man. This was great.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.